Sterk here with
Dr. Jessica Ruzicka, and today is December 15th already. I do not know how it's already almost the end of the year. It's crazy.
it
Um,
is.
and today in our line of work is a pretty big deal, isn't it, Amanda?
It is. I am getting junior messages and senior messages and everything sort of coming in today and a lot going on in college admissions world.
Seriously, with all of the early actions, some early decisions coming out, being released last night and this morning, it's a pretty big day. So much to kind of cover and talk about today. Just wanted to kind of give you guys some highlights as to what's going on in the world of college admissions. So the first and the most important thing, I guess, are students hearing back from colleges, and it's my favorite time of the year, just to be excited and really celebrate all of the accomplishments that these students have done up until this point. And that fear of not getting in sometimes is like you've already done the hard work, and now you get to kind of be rewarded for that. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. And I think it's hard because, with some of these earlier decisions coming out, you're still waiting for other schools to come out. And so students are really sort of reassessing, from their college list, about the scholarship amount. We don't really know award amounts completely yet because obviously FAFSA is another big deadline that's coming up very soon. I think they said it's going to be released on the 31st,
Mm-hmm.
FAFSA, which normally it's October 1st. But kids really trying to figure out, do I wait? What am I doing? And then did I get in? If I didn't get in, where am I switching to? So a lot of big decisions going on today for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that decision-making process is definitely heightened this time of year for a lot of students and families, especially since a lot of it hinges really on the financial aid aspect. And so that is kind of a wait and see type thing right now. And that is can be a tough place to be, and exciting at the same time. So you have all the feelings going on right now with that senior class, which kind of we just have a few helpful hints if this is where you are right now in the process. And some life that we just kind of want to bring to your attention, and maybe they would be helpful to you. So one tip would be consistently every day checking your inbox for communications from the colleges and universities. I've seen it firsthand where if you're not checking and you're missing communications from the college, the admissions office, admissions counselors, you miss out on opportunities. So last year, or the year before, I had a student who didn't check the email until after a deadline date and missed out on their chance of going to the school that they really wanted to go to. And that's heartbreaking. And so just being on top of the communications, checking the portals, making sure, following up, all my paperwork is there, everything's complete. So
Yeah, all your check marks are there. And some schools are just notorious for, I don't know, losing things and,
yes.
transcripts not getting there and the right materials. And then I did hear from a few families that Common App had glitched a few weeks ago and letters of recommendation didn't get to the school. So then the teachers all had to send them basically by hand and then to follow up and make sure. So, like Jessica said, it's just so critical to make sure you're going into your portals and not just for making sure the application's complete, because that's a big deal, but a lot of honors programs and scholarship opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
There are some scholarships that are you have to interview for, or an extra honors application that you have to submit. And those are extra opportunities that can take, maybe a school that was a little bit lower on your list, but you get that scholarship, you get that honors program, and actually can be a better choice for you in the long run because of the opportunities. So you don't want to miss. Same kind of story, Jessica. This was a few years ago when I was a college counselor at a school, and a student had missed an email about the presidential scholarship where she was invited, one of only 20 students invited to the college to go interview, be there for the day, and it was a full ride scholarship,
Oh
and
my
she
gosh.
missed the deadline. yeah, to go out and hear, she had been selected and to go interview for this thing. And she wasn't checking. So if you're using those emails, parents, now's a good time just to go in, make sure nothing's in spam, and for sure.
Exactly. So critical, so critical. And another piece for juniors, I know today or yesterday, this week,
Today.
When was it? Today?
Today.
Okay. Yeah. So score reports are coming out for the last ever paper test for the SAT. So that's another that's what we're talking about too for juniors, is testing and seeing where you are, and then moving fully into the digital SAT. So we have students who are going to be getting those scores back, and then taking a look, seeing where they could use some room for improvement, how close are they to their goal score, and then putting together their testing calendar for the spring, which is really important for juniors to be doing right now. Marking those dates off on the calendar, and then creating your study plan. So that's exciting for the juniors right now as well. So today is a very big day across the board.
Absolutely no. And so, my daughter, just, I know I kind of shared my daughter's kind of journey right now, and she just got her paper SAT scores back. And then it's like that reassessment, like, are we going the digital route and wanting to try to see what that looks like? Are we happy with the score? Do we think, and the thing is, like I told her, and I would tell all of my students, without substantial change, your score is not going to change, right? So unless, and looking at her schedule for the spring, looking at, what she has on her plate, is she going to really put the time and the commitment to increase? Because once you get to kind of that plateauing level, you have to do a lot of work to go from, I don't know, I'm just making up a score, say a 1400 to a 1450 or a 1500. Like, you really have to put in the time and the work. And I had a student last night I was working with, and we're talking about ACT and SAT, that test prep. Lacrosse season is coming up. So the kid's going to be with schoolwork. And then, so really it's like, well, if we can get everything done by March, so then lacrosse season. So those are all the things, that as a family, we need to, and as, college advisors, to discuss, to make sure it's a plan that actually works for your family. And to be really open and honest, is the kid going to study? Do they need that one-on-one, and what would that look like?
Exactly, because again, we have all the resources, and there's only 24 hours in a day, right? And so even though if you have the resources, if we don't have the time and the commitment, and the motivation, to be honest, then it's not going to change much. So exactly, really important. And as we know, testing still is a very critical piece to the puzzle. I know we have heard about a story this week where the student had a really good SAT score, but it wasn't the whole piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah, that was one of mine. My daughter, I reviewed a friend's application, and I did not help with the application. And I literally reviewed like this week. And here, another student who had about 1450 versus a 1250. I helped with the 1250, and the 1250 got the admissions to the college, and the other 1450 did not. And definitely he was a stronger student. And so it matters, how you put your information on your application, what you write about in your essay, with seniors right now, don't let off the gas in terms of that demonstrated interest. Right now they're looking through applications. And so you should still be clicking and checking, like, beyond checking the portals, visiting, going to campus, doing virtual tours. Like, you still want to show up to show schools that you're interested and wanting to go. And so again, it's not just about test scores. Test scores are a huge puzzle piece. And, when we know your scores, we know how do we use them and what does that look like. And I never want a kid not to have an opportunity. So maybe they could get the score and that's what gets them in.
Right.
At one school, but maybe not another school. So it can be a case by case.
It definitely is. And I think that's our approach, right? Is that we are making sure that students are prepared in all the areas. And we would rather you have more opportunities than limited opportunities. And that's a really good point you make too. With seniors, I know senioritis is a real thing. And a lot of these colleges will want your midterm grades. So, I mean, still be buckling down. And juniors, just because next year you only need 3 credits to graduate, that doesn't mean you should only take 3 credits, right? Because again, colleges are going to be looking at these little details and seeing what is your course load like senior year. Again, we talk about activities all the time and demonstrated interest and all of the different things that go into the application. And so I think that's just a really good story. And it's encouraging too, because there are students in all different categories, right? And they're all great students, and we all just have different strengths and abilities. And so, anyways, we're just telling these stories because these are real life stories we thought you guys would find interesting today.
Yeah, it's what we deal with.
Yeah.
And I know even this morning we were all chatting in our method group about all the early decisions, and more students are applying earlier, more are going ED, like we're seeing across from UPenn to Duke to everywhere that the ED numbers are up. And, it's sort of, where do you put that chip? How does that process go for you as a family? Are you able to go ED and not have to worry about the financial implications? And
Right.
do you? And so there's a lot to sort of consider as we go through this process. And that's why it is critical to understand all these nuances, right? And how each college views each piece of the puzzle.
Exactly, because they are so different and each student is so different. And so it's hard sometimes when we get asked like general questions because it's not a general answer. And that's what we do, is really take an individualized approach with each student and family, making sure that they are really targeting the best schools for them based on all this information. So just exciting stuff. And this is why we love what we do. And it's just it's a really fun time of year for us. So
It is. And, the text messages and all the phone calls we get from our kiddos with, I got this scholarship and I got this, I can't believe it. So far, I've gotten accepted into everywhere. And, those are the success stories. But also, like, going back to it, we want to make sure that your student's successful. Getting in is one piece of the puzzle, right? But it's also being there, being successful. And that's why every step of the way, we're always talking about career options and major options and that transition piece. And so, just understand that no matter what decision you make, the next step is to really come up with a plan to make sure the student is successful at that college. Be really intentional about using the resources and, the opportunities that are provided in the school. So, if you are at that sort of pivotal decision moment, like, do I do this school versus this school? Go back, visit, look at their career center, look at their advising center, look at their student support offices, check out their mental health offices and see, like, if I'm going to have a mental health issue, which we know students will, what's the wait time to get in? Those are the things that we now, once you have your admissions decision, besides your award letter, go back, review, check it out, and really analyze, am I going to be successful at this school? So
absolutely.
critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good points. Really good points. And go back through the notes that you took when you were on campus the first time, to refresh your memory, because sometimes, yeah, they can fade a little bit. So yeah, and safety and security too. I mean, that's another one that we talk about all the time. And so, pros and cons to a lot of these big decisions. And we just did a webinar Tuesday night on how to choose your college major. And so there's a replay available if you guys are interested in watching that. But that's another question too. Look at the program outlines, start to compare and contrast the different majors for your intended major, and see, they could have some similarities and some differences, and see which one is the best fit for you. So
Absolutely. No, I think that's so critical. And, try not to be swayed by a lot of the marketing and sort of the push decisions like, oh, you got to get your deposit in right now, or you're not going to get a dorm room. You're not going
Uh-huh.
and some schools it is rather competitive. And if more people accept a seat than their formula kind of, is, has, definitely want to pay attention to all of that too, right? But you definitely want to go in putting prestige aside and really looking at, am I going to be successful here? Do they have the programs? Do I see myself for the next 4 years here? Those are all the things that you need to take into
Exactly.
consideration.
Right. Long term. And then, again,
Yeah.
aside from finances, but finances too play a big part. Again, in 4 years after you graduate, what is it going to look like?
Right. Absolutely. So if December 15th, again, a big date for a lot of you. So if you're a junior and test scores are coming out, that's awesome. If you don't have a plan for sort of what the spring looks like, either as a 10th grader or 11th grader, definitely connect with the two of us and we can help you with that just to make sure, because now, especially juniors, it's time. Like,
It's
you
time.
don't wait, because spring's going to get busy, summer's going to get busy. And if we can get sort of situated now, you're going to be a lot more confident. And then for seniors, it's a time to analyze and revisit and make sure that you're not missing anything, following up with your schools, and hopefully getting those good decisions coming out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And we hope that everybody enjoys their break, and juniors, this is a great time to do some test prep. And what I'll do is when we post this video, I'll put in the comments a timeline that we've put together that could be helpful for any high school family, really. So feel free to download that resource, and we will see you soon. So
Happy holidays, everybody. Take care.